Hello YouTube, this is Dr. Ronald W. Satz, founder and chair of the International Society of Unified Science, the only scientific organization devoted to the reciprocal system theory. And I'm also president of TransPower Corporation, a commercial and custom software manufacturing and certified systems engineering company. I work as a systems and mechanical engineer and a theoretical physicist. So today we're going to look at three topics in the reciprocal system: jet from galactic center, the Nobel Prize in Physics, and the combination of a photon and a photon. Very interesting. So let's go here. As usual, I like to quote from Science Daily. It's a great daily resource for science news. And let's just take a look at what they say about the jet from galactic center. Incidentally, the conventional theory is that with black holes nothing can come out, but yet we see these jets coming out all over the place. So it says here in the summary, astronomers have focused on jets from the huge black holes at the centers of galaxies and observed how they affect their surroundings. Well, that's just funny, because supposedly the gravitation is so great that nothing can escape a black hole. So this is just, one of those stark contradictions of modern physics, which is just such nonsense. And we'll just read this little part here. There are, quote, supermassive black holes with masses up to several billion solar masses at the hearts of almost all galaxies in the universe, including our own galaxy, the Milky Way. In the remote past, these bizarre objects were very active, swallowing enormous quantities of matter from their surroundings, shining with dazzling brilliance and expelling tiny fractions of this matter through extremely powerful jets. In the current universe, most supermassive black holes are much less active than they were in their youth, but the interplay between jets and their surroundings is still shaping galaxy evolution. Okay, well, that's the conventional nonsense. So let's quote from the developer of the reciprocal system, Dewey B. Larson, who was my mentor from 1965 until his death in 1990. He states in The Universe of Motion, page 359, smaller amounts of such material escape from other galaxies and from quasars under special conditions. The giant galaxy M87, for example, apparently has a hole in its outer structure through which ultra-high-speed matter is escaping in the form of a jet. So this is not abnormal, actually. Ultra-high speed means between 2c and 3c. This matter will eventually leave our material sector, and it leaves when the velocity finally overcomes the gravitational pull of the host galaxy. So this matter will eventually leave our material sector and enter the cosmic sector, which is the inverse sector of the universe, disappearing from view, because the cosmic sector is localized in time rather than in space. Now, the center of the galaxy is not a black hole. It is a region in which motion is in time, which means v equals t over s rather than s over t. And the speed is mostly between c and 2c, but there is a tail of the probability distribution extending from 2c to 3c, and this is the jet which leaves the galactic core. So that explains jets from galaxy centers. Now let's go back and tackle the second topic today. This is back in 2013, Science Daily again. And it says here the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics. By the way, I'm transducing my WordPress blogs into YouTube, and I'm annotating as we go along. So this is why I'm going back to 2013. We'll eventually get caught up. Anyway, it says here the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the Nobel Prize in Physics for 2013 to Francois Englert and Peter W. Higgs of the famed Higgs boson. Quote, for the theoretical discovery of a mechanism that contributes to our understanding of the origin of mass of subatomic particles, in which recently was confirmed, so they say, through the discovery of the predicted fundamental particle by the ATLAS and CMS experiments at CERN's Large Hadron Collider. Well, I hate to break the news to you guys, but this is nonsensical as usual. The so-called standard model of particle physics contains 36 quarks, and I'm not kidding, 36, and 8 gluons, plus various bosons tying everything together. It is a bizarre mythology. The bosons are, quote, virtual, and that they pop in and out of the vacuum, allegedly, to connect the quarks and fermions together. For instance, virtual photons are said to connect electrically charged atoms and subatoms. Weakons, which are the so-called W bosons, explain the so-called weak beta decay, and mesons explain the strong force, which allegedly holds the protons and neutrons together in the so-called atomic nucleus. And the Higgs boson allegedly explains the mass of all particles. But this boson is very heavy, supposedly because its interaction distance is so small. The LHC at CERN allegedly discovered the Higgs boson or bosons this past year, but if one checks the mass, it's easy to see that all they did was create a couple of cesium isotopes. Now, there are other isotopes it could be, but it's most likely cesium. And which is kind of funny. All they did with all this expenditure and all this power was to create some cesium isotopes which had the same mass of the supposed Higgs boson. The reciprocal system is a vastly simpler theory than the so-called standard model. Here, mass results from the spin of a photon in subatoms or from the spins of orthogonal photons, it's two of them, in atoms. There are three possible spins for the three possible orthogonal axes. The spins are discrete rotational displacements and do not represent angular momenta like they do in conventional physics. So, please read Dewey B. Larson's books and my books for all the details. Now, finally today, let's scroll down here. Photon plus photon. This is one of the most interesting underreported news items in science, but it's very important from the sampling of the reciprocal system. It says here, seeing light in new light, scientists create never before seen form of matter. Science Daily says, scientists have managed to coax photons into binding together to form, quote, molecules? A state of matter that until recently had been purely theoretical. Wow. I'm going to scroll down here. So it's going to get to the point where it talks about mass. Let's see. To get the normally massless photons to bind to each other, Lukin and colleagues, including Harvard postdoc fellow Ofer Fisterberg, former Harvard doctoral student Alexei Gorshkov, and MIT graduate students, the Bullet, Peyronel, and Qi Liang, couldn't rely on something like the force. Instead turned to, that's Star Wars force, ridiculous. They instead turned to a set of more extreme conditions. I just want to get to the point where I talk about mass here. Let's just see. Let me just do a Control F and get mass. Okay. And let's go to the next one. Here we go. This is the paragraph I want to emphasize. Most of the properties of light we know about originate from the fact that photons are massless and that they do not interact with each other, Lukin said. What we have done is create a special type of medium in which photons interact with each other so strongly that they begin to act as though they have mass. And they bind together to form molecules. This type of photonic balance state has been discovered theoretically, has been discussed theoretically for quite a while, but until now it's physical. Well, I've never heard of it in quantum mechanics, but anyway, that's the guts of this article, and this is really quite important. So let's go back. And I say here, the reciprocal system has maintained for decades that a subatom has one rotating photon and an atom has two rotating photons orthogonal to each other. And by the way, these axes are objective and real. They're not phony axes like they are in quantum mechanics. The property of mass comes from spinning photons, not some idiotic Higgs boson. So, that's an extremely important experiment. They say combining photons has a property resembling mass. Well, it is. When you combine photons together or rotate a photon, you get mass. It's not due to the Higgs boson. So, study the reciprocal system and prove it for yourself. For the simplest possible treatment, see my book, The Unmysterious Universe. For the most comprehensive treatment, see my software ebook, Existence and Interactions, a computational treatise of the reciprocal system, the true theory of everything. And that work contains thousands and thousands of equations, so you better be a very good scientist or engineer or professor to understand it. And if you want to use the reciprocal system in actual practice, which, by the way, you can't do with quantum mechanics, see my two database modules, the reciprocal system microcosmos database and the reciprocal system macrocosmos database. So if you have all those items, plus you should, of course, read Dewey B. Larson's books, then you'll understand the reciprocal system and why it is the true theory of the universe. Thanks for your attention.